Sawadika. Hi, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here with my colleague Malta. So today we, as mentioned, thank you, facilitator, we would like to share with you our experience and also lesson learned in our proven practice and case study in delivery agility in a large-scale complex living system. Sound very advanced, but let's see what are we going to talk about and how it will help you to apply to your own context. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and I would like to say I'm very honored and happy to be here, and I've brought a little picture along because my journey in let's say mindset change and in mindfulness started actually with meditation and also with the teachings of Ajahn Chah. So I'm very honored to be back here, actually where everything started in a sense, with mindset change and evolution. And speaking about that, so there were a couple of things also shared in the morning or throughout the day about what is a good Scrum Master, what is all this Agile coaching all about, and I wanna just start off with the Agile coaching framework. So the Agile coaching framework was developed by the Agile Coaching Institute, which is one of the leading institutes in the world. And if you want to become a Scrum Master, or if you want to become an Agile coach, or if you want to become good at, living agility, then you have to understand these Agile coaching competency framework. And I just, spent a couple of minutes on that. So on the top is the knowledge, right? So you need to understand what is Agile, what is Lean, what is Kanban, what is extreme programming, what is Scrum, what is design thinking, and so on and so forth. You really need to understand what's in there and practice it. On the left side, there is content knowledge, right? Being a teacher or being a mentor, you need to know about these things, maybe even about domain knowledge. So Lalita and we are actually helping big, complex, large distributed SAP implementation. So I need to know a little bit about technical architecture, for example, high disaster recovery setups of systems, or about business processes in an SAP system, order to cash, for example, stuff like that. That is content knowledge I bring along then in this specific context. On the other side, there's process knowledge, meaning as an Agile coach or a Scrum Master, my job is it to facilitate the process. Meaning okay, there is a daily, there's a review, there's a retrospective. I need to ensure there's flow in the process. If I'm the process, if I have process authority, I can be totally, let's say, blank from a content perspective. And there have been many studies out there which has shown if you have a process facilitator, actually you get better business results at the end of the day. Because the content people, they will be busy with looking at content. And the process person is managing then the process to get an outcome at the end of the day. Last but not least, at the bottom, you have certain specializations. So if an Agile coach comes to you and says well, I can do all of these things. I have transformation mastery, meaning I design you the organizational structure for 1,000 people. I can set up a DevOps pipeline for you, and I will write the best acceptance criteria, right? I would think again, because everybody has certain mastery levels or certain, let's say, domain knowledge. So this is always something which you have to pay in mind. And last but not least, an Agile mindset is developed mainly through coaching, mentoring, and facilitation. So the mindset itself, it's not you read a book or a cool fancy white paper which I've written, yeah? I mean, that is also good, that's also important to read, right? But to develop this mindset is through these kind of elements.
Great, yes, and as mentioned, we both are certified as the Agile coach, but that's not the reason why we're calling ourselves Agile coach. Yeah. Personally, we believe in people development and that human has potential. Yeah. We're living in a complex world, right? And that's why Agile is taking place, and we are adopting Agile more and more because everything's complex. Agile for us, or specifically for me, or agility is not only in IT or technology or innovation. Is the basics, the foundation, or the practice is actually based on the human behavior, social anthropology on top, in order to drive the business value, to meet the client satisfaction. On top, we have innovation and IT. So it's an interdisciplinary body of knowledge. And that is also a little bit more about us. We are not only go out to the project and help our client do Agile transformation. We also, within our own company, we're trying to create an interdisciplinary body of knowledge, especially about SAP and Agile. Yeah. And we will talk later why SAP is such a special term we all brought up. Because SAP for us totally represent complex, large-scale living system. Okay. So before we start, this presentation, we will start from a broader context and then go deeper into specific knowledge and lesson learned. Yeah. So now I would like to draw your attention to this slide. Has anybody of you heard of Reinventing Organization before? Perfect. Seems that we have an expert in here. So Reinventing Organization is one of the best books ever we started to read. It was written by this guy, Frederic Laloux, talking about the mental model of this cultural development in organization. Yeah, so the concept that he was written is about categorizing the organization developments based on the color and the different characteristics. So they start from talking about the red organization. They use wolf pack as a metaphor. An organization that characterized as red organization is an organization that have command and control, super strict command and control. People in the organization are work based on the level of division. And we can see this kind of organization in mafia, gangster, street gangs, for example. Evolve a little bit further, we have Amber, representing the army. Amber is an organization that have a very detailed, strict process and hierarchy. Super formal roles. You have 10 hierarchy before it reaches down to you or to any junior in the organization. You can see this organization pretty much in most of the government and religious organization. Later, we have Orange organization or machine. This one you might feel familiar because most of the organization, multinational companies belong to Orange. Orange is where the organizations are only focused on winning the competitor. You innovate so that you win the competitor, you get more money. Everything is based on meritocracy. You do good, you get more money. Money is a driven force to win. And this is where you can see from multinational companies. Going further up, we have green organization. A metaphor is a family. This organization, they focus more on empowerment, people at all levels. And they have a common value-driven culture. They embrace the stakeholders. Not many organizations are green, but there are some, of course. For example, Ben & Jerry's. They say that they do not only sell ice cream, they also care about environment and people and environment surrounding around them as well. Last but not least, maybe you have heard of this in this morning. Shane talked about teal organization. Teal is the North Star when it comes to organization development. Living system, which we will talk about today. This organization, of course, they have everything what green has, empower people, but what they have better and more is that self-management individuals are there. They focus on evolutionary purpose, care about togetherness, wholeness. They base their own working on continuous development, continuous improvement. And these are the teal organization. Frederick also mentioned that if you would like to move from one stage to another stage, you have to first look where you are exactly. And also asking yourself where you want to go, why do you want to go there, are you ready to go to the next stage or not? If you can see, Amber and Orange will pretty much be the organization or company we're living in, we're working in, and with the lean agile mindset that could live up or escalating you to green organization. And beyond that, you have teal organization, or let's call it business agility, right? So let's look into the agile perspective. If you want to move into the business agility, you have to look where you are exactly. Are you in an agile team level at this point, and you would like to go to business agility? How will you get there? Do you think you're ready to get there or not? Or are you at the agile scale level? Why do you want to get there? Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready, but is your stakeholder ready? Is your management ready? That is another story. Again, business agility is something we talk about many times, and this is my first time at this conference, but I'm sure the business agility was there even before me, right? It's a buzzword, of course, but it's nothing new at all. We, Accenture, we wrote a white paper already about this business agility and help our client to reach business agility by creating the value stream within their organization. And what is exactly the business agility?
Right. And one of the things you can see here in the history, like it's always important to understand where it came from and what's all in there. And one of the, let's say, body of experience I would like to highlight here is also number 4, the principles of product development flow. This is one of the most important, let's say, works from Don Reinertsen, which was created. So if you really want to understand, like, how can we set up an organization in order to create a flow-based systems, which is at the heart of business agility, or let's say an organization which is set up according to a value stream. So this is one of the authors and the experience out there to get started reading about it, right? But business agility means at the core, of course, you start with teams and then you scale up, and this is kind of the delivery agility teams in the middle there. But then you have to bring in the business, right? What also we heard about in the morning. We need to bring marketing in, we need to bring sales in, we need to bring legal in, we need to bring finance in. And with an SAP implementation, we have always done that, right? An SAP implementation is business processes, right? From order to cash, procure to pay, finance and accounting. So this is for SAP people actually their daily business. And if you want to learn, can we go to the next slide? And here is kind of the mental model. So first you start, of course, with delivery agility. That means one team, that means 12 teams, that means more teams. But there's more to master. So we have to master different capabilities in order to reach to business agility. So of course we need to be able to have an organizational adaptability. That means the organizational structure, the teams, or nowadays if you use Spotify, the tribes you set up, they will not stay forever in the concept or in the structure they are. We have to adapt according to what is needed with customer centricity at heart. And this is a skill we need to learn. And the same thing with leadership effectiveness. Our leaders, like of today, if they are not coached, if they are not trained, if they are not, don't have the mentoring, they will not know, or based upon what principles they have to make decisions. Because they use old mental models in order to decide in this era, in this revolutionary era. And again, I can only recommend to you the 5th discipline from Peter Senge. Is one of the best system thinkers out there. This is actually something where he gives you the tools or the dimensions in order to set up a learning organization. And business agility is about a learning organization. We need to learn what is our capability as a company, what is it that the customer wants, and where does our leadership wants us to go, right? So these kind of components, and this is one of the great things. So if we move on and understand a little bit more, and I will not go into details here because Shane talked about these things in the morning. But like there are a couple of different dimensions from demand management, meaning like how do we actually come to the right conclusion? What is the next big initiative we actually want to fund and keep our people busy, which then provides a business value for our people, yeah? Because we want to work for companies which are successful, right? So I want to work on initiatives which help our clients and which advance also our business. So that's demand management, of course. Staffing and talent development. I mean, we come from a project-based, let's say, environment where we have a piece of work, then we find people with the right skills to do it, then they deliver that, and then the people go back to the silos, right, to the functions. And this is creating and destroying social, let's say, networks. But we want to go away from that to create really stable social networks who can fast sense and adapt for competitive advantage. Value delivery, that's what I spoke about. Waterfall versus agile. Highly manual versus automated. So from a test automation, from a deployment automation, even infrastructure as a code. Like in 2012, I was working at SAP itself, helping them with their DevOps transformation, and there we were busy developing infrastructure as a code. When I was there, I had to wait for a server 3 months. After we were done with this infrastructure as a code, it's like today when you go to Amazon, you can order like your server with a system, with a OS, in 15 minutes, it's there. So that's a tremendous advantage for you. Release management, and we heard in the talk earlier, yeah, we want to push code to production every 3 months. Well, like it always depends on your context. It also always depends on your customers, whether they are able to absorb the changes or the new features you're pushing out frequently. And we have set up this also from an SAP point of view where you can push changes to your customers, reports they need in order to get data out of the ERP system to make decisions in which areas they want to actually invest and in which areas they don't want to invest, because this is where our treasure is, right? The data in these systems. So to push these changes faster out to production. Last but not least, service operations. Now, if we see at the customers we have nowadays, usually you implement a system with one service provider, right? Then you hand it over to another service provider who's maintaining then the applications. And there's so much knowledge and experience lost, right? Because how do you loop the learnings the operations teams have about the reports and the functionals and functionality back to the people who built it? You don't, right? They're just fixing bugs. But where do you like people in the finance department, they also want to be thrilled with reports. How they will not have a lot of customer centricity if you go with your Excel analysis tools and stuff like that. They want to really create a report on a fingertip and be able to advise to their leadership what to do next. Yeah, so. This is important that our service, people are part of the teams who build actually these features and functionality. And now let me take a step back, because all what I've said is very important. But, and we know all of that, right? Everybody of us knows all of that. But why is it not done? Why are companies not doing it? And especially leadership. And another, let's say, piece of experience is from Mick Kirsten. I told you about Don Reinhardtson before, Principles of Product Development Flow. This book is 10 years ahead of its time. And Mick Kirsten is one of the, the best people out there, I would say, on the planet currently. The great news also, I'm doing a little bit of book advertising, so sorry for that. But the cool thing is, whatever when you get a book, he's donating all of his revenue. So I just wanted to mention that because I like it very much. I only found it out after I bought the book. Anyways, so Mick said the problem is that organizations are using managerial frameworks and And infrastructure models from past revolution. That means only because you use Scrum now doesn't get you to the future, because your infrastructure also needs to keep pace. It needs things like digital decoupling. It needs to be modular and stuff like that. And if you know these, then you have to look at, for example, Conway's law and Ashby's law. So why would I say that? Conway's law says your software architecture and your software is a direct representation of your communication structures and patterns. Meaning, if you have an organizational structure which is really complex, where you have a lot of different teams who are really not talking to each other, your software will look like that, the software you build. It's a law. It's not something like which is a fluffy duffy thing. So if we know that, why are there not people out there who design teams and communication patterns, right, professionally? We have enterprise architects who are trained, who are experienced and 10 years in the business, and they create the enterprise architecture. But where are the organizational architects? So this is very important if you go further. Ashby's law, Ashby is dealing with complex system. He said, like, listen up. If you have a complex system, then the system that controls the complex system, like your managerial model, must be equally complex, if not more complex. Whew. Shall I repeat it again? So you have a complex system, great IT system. Then the system that controls that needs to be complex or even more complex. That's, systems theory or systems. So if you know that, and if you know this with the communication patterns, then our job it is to design organizations which are not complex. Otherwise, we have to have a model which is super complex to control that again, right? And we have helped a couple of customers to get there and to actually design organizational models and also architectural models. And I just want to highlight a couple of things. So up there, I spoke about that where I was. For example, Merck. Merck is a huge, big pharmaceutical company. So we have with 400 people in a large-scale agile implementation to set up their ERP system live. Yeah, this is just one of them. So, Lalita.
Yeah, and I would like to draw your attention to the picture on the left side here. As you can see, this fuzzy board and people in one room. So that was also one of our first ever release planning, or if you have heard of the PI planning, that was super awesome, impactful event. So we helped the client, which pretty much the same as I know that we have ExxonMobil here as one of the sponsors. We have one of the largest resource and chemical company in Germany, super conservative, extremely conservative. We bring together more than 150 people in one room, one place, same time. We have this C-level from Switzerland, who's sitting in Switzerland, and a Bangalore developer come together in Germany. So we will talk later more about this because this is super, like the coolest event ever if you want to meet all these agile values you uphold. Yeah. Also at the bottom, as we mentioned, that we not only just go there to the client and then help them with agile transformation and advice, right? We also trying to build our own capability as well. Agile First IP, actually, if you look into the literature review, is something that was written in 1993. People would like to do Agile with SAP or iterative in SAP implementation. Back then, there's no Agile like business agility or whatever yet. And back then it was like S2 or something. Now we have S4HANA, right? So we're trying to build that body of knowledge. So that's why we gather, digest all our lesson learned we had within our own unit, within our organization, and together with our trustful client, come up with our white paper, which we tailored this presentation based on the white paper that we wrote with all the details that we cannot cover in this presentation. It's also about applying 10 essential safe or these 10 critical success factor for a large-scale complex SAP implementation operations. Apart from that, we also, as I mentioned, that SAP again. We actually create a course specifically for SAP in Agile because based on our experience. We know that SAP is big, complex, cumbersome. It's just too big to be Agile. Actually, the problem is actually right here. It's nothing there. We did that. We break down this work package of 3 months into 2-week iteration. Project was successful. Everybody's happy. People say it's impossible. It is actually possible. And even though it's impossible, what matters is that if you know that it's impossible, is it the reason that you have to stop trying it? No, it's not. The training is based on SE Agile Learning Objective that Shane was talking about, right? We are the first global accredited Agile for SAP course. We call it SAP Delivery Agility Fundamental. This to make sure that we are not only doing Agile in SAP project or implementation, but we also being Agile and living Agile to make sure that we somehow open their mind to accept that this thing can actually work. And if it's not work, then let's work together. And that is why we build this course.
Right. And now I would like you, because the title is also case study, right? So now we're going to go into the case study a little bit, and then we go and extract the learning so that you can take something home and starting on Monday morning, implement it. Isn't it awesome? Yes! Wonderful. Cool. All right, let's move on. So just want to share here a couple of pictures. So there's also a big program increment planning or PI planning or release planning we have. And what you see there is kind of the room of the people. And that's the first time the people actually are in a room like this, right? And they see each other. And, you know, like then they start to get to know each other, and they are testers, developers, architects. They are here, this is the CIO of the company who was there. So you talk to the CIO, global head of accounting, they come everywhere. And you start to create this understanding. So what I want to share one of the stories. So in the first PI planning we had, the global head of accounting was coming from America, and he said, like, this is all a waste of money. Why are you flying the people from everywhere in the world here to Munich and meet 2 days? You know, they should be productive, right? At the end of day 1, he was like, now I understand. We had other directors in that room who just wanted to be there for 1 or 2 hours. They stood the entire 2 days. They cleared their calendar because they said, like, this is amazing what we do. And guys, this is a very conservative, an organization. I would say it's even worse, no, I'm joking, than government. Sorry, I don't want to offend anybody who's here from government, yeah? No, I mean, really. And you can start this mindset transformation because people were trained not to be agile, not to take responsibility, not to take decisions because it can get back to you, right? And the first thing here we did was with the leadership to say, like, guys, you need to tell your people it's okay to fail. And please fail, because that's the only way we can learn and start something new. Okay, let's look a little bit more deeper. What did we do there? So it was actually, we established a single source of truth. We had requirements for more than 31 departments, so all have different interests, all have different agendas, so we had to find a mechanism, how can we align that. We had more than 600 standards reports we developed. We had to replace 7 running systems, people from 7 different countries, and I personally trained these 250 people. Because I said, like, if we train people, and this was one of the things in the talk earlier, yeah, they're coming different consultants in, right? Everybody says something different. So I said to these guys, if you want to have if you want to get started with one message, stick with one thing, learn it first, it's shuhari, right? Learn it first, and then you can adapt it to what you need. It's the same thing like meditation practice, yeah? You first have a master who helps you, and then you become the master at a certain point. It's the same thing with practicing an instrument, or it's the same thing with, learning sports. Cool. Let's move on. So a little bit further into the details. So The company or the client wanted to have efficiency in their closing processes, improved data management, right? Because data is a new oil, it's a new treasure in order to make decisions which impact their people as well as their customers. And they say like, hey, our business is fast growing. We have new technology and regulatory requirements, such as Solvency II, IFRS 17, and local GAAP. They were an international company, right? So we need to find a way how we can actually put these requirements as fast as possible into our different systems. So on the one side, they were looking at waterfall, and they said, hey, we're looking at a new operating model from technology. And of these they led to program prediction. What does program prediction? From senior leadership and what building were met by 90%. Every 2 weeks we had leadership look back, right? Handshake between senior leadership, building trust. Organization. The thing. Yeah, and we had, of course, automation. So like based upon the first, they were actually saying like this. Active system. Where we had a second age W system. So together with this two building.
Right. So Malta has mentioned how we help our client. Transparency, better alignment, flexible reporting, more efficiency. But we haven't actually mentioned how did we do that. So what do? We apply these 10 elements of what we call critical success factor in our working. Given the time we have, we selected only the most practical element, and what we found that if you apply them, it will right away impactful to your project, your work. So let's start with the first one, which we also write as well in the chart, if you can see that. The first one, super important, lean agile principles. So we base this lean agile principles on the SAFe framework, Scale Agile framework. Yeah. Why is principle important, or why do we have to talk about it? Principle is something to distinguish you from being agile and doing agile. There are many practices, right? Sometimes people, should we have iteration of 2, 3 weeks or 4 weeks? What is actually answering? What is the best answer? Answer would be, is it in line with the manifesto? Is it in line with the principle? Will this be beneficial for your organization? And of course, experience bring you far, but with principle, it bring you farther. Based on the Gartner article, we have these 3 business results or business value that the customer would want from Agile. The first one is faster delivery. If you want to deliver things fast with quality, you need to make sure that you organize your organization around the value. And I think we have talked a little bit about this morning, how to organize your organization around the value. You need to cut across your silo, meaning in one team, we have different functional people like finance, working with, I don't know, let's say business analyst working with tester and developer. Maybe in SAP environment, we have a functional consultant and technical consultant, ABAP developer in one. This will also help you to reduce the dependency between silos in a traditional organization, right? And also to enable flow within your delivery pipeline. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to deliver faster. And if you would like to have better and more alignment between IT and business, You need to make sure that you have the same cadence, meaning the same iteration and sprint, and also have a regular synchronization so that all these cross-domain are meet regularly, plan, working toward the one common goal. Risks and impediments are managed. Last but not least, managing changing priority. We are, again, living in a complex world. If you heard of this Cinefin framework or Kinefin framework, we talk about complexity, that complexity is what you cannot foresee. Cause and effect are different. We're also living in a disruption world, right? We don't have to talk about it. This iBanking and this online marketing whatsoever. We don't know what's going to come next. If priorities change, what should we do? We need to make sure that the decision making needs to be made fast. And how do we do that? We need to empower people so that they can apply the decentralized decision making. And we will go down into that later. You're still in the lean agile principle. What I would like you to look into specifically into the organize around the value, because I think that this is one of the most important and impactful concept in a large-scale complex environment. Yeah. Again, organize around the value is you do not have any organization silo anymore, right? Have a value stream within your organization. What does it mean by value stream? Value stream mean trigger to value or concept to cash. And within that, you have a step that lead you toward the value to the customer. If you can see the picture on the left side, this is how we organize a value stream in a SAP way of working. Let's make it simple like that. In a traditional world of SAP, we have people from different model will work within their own model. For example, we have finance, right? FI will work within FI, FICO, material management will work within but now we do not do that anymore. We start from trigger. Trigger is a customer, let's say, request for something. We start by identify what would be the step that will lead us to deliver value to the customer. And on top, as Malte mentioned, we need to make sure that we organize the people around that value as well as the technology. So we have identified the step, which is sale order, to material planning, to purchase, to pay, procure to pay, warehouse management, and to invoice and then giving money. And now you can see that finance model will no longer working within their own finance model anymore, but working with material management in order to create people, for example. So this is how we create a value stream within it. Second thing is how to organize a team. Have a real agile teams or agile release train. People is the core of everything, core of delivering the value, right? What you need to consider in building a team, especially in SAP, we always have this question: how do we fit all these spatial roles SAP have, like SAP technical architecture, basis, infrastructure, data migration? Should we put them into Scrum Master, Scrum team? I was like, why are you putting them into Scrum team? So that we can agile, because everybody needs to. No, actually, what we consider in our experience and lesson learned, we need to make sure that when we organize a team, we consider at least two. There are many more things to consider. First, we need to organize a team in a way that you can deliver value fast, quality, and that goes feature team. Moreover, we need to make sure that we organize a team in a way that you can enhance or increase technical robustness to make sure that you have the right and effective technical, let's say, technical architecture or runway for those feature team to deliver fast with quality. And that goes component team. We put the picture from Les, yeah, because we think that this is the best describe how the team should be formed. If you would like to learn more, we also wrote about how do we put data migration in a Scrum team, for example, or how do we organize a team with specific SAP roles. Here we go. We mentioned about this already. I would like to go into detail. So this is what we call PI planning or release planning. This is when it's a two-day workshop. Yeah. Sometimes 1.5 days, depends on your project or working context. So we fly everybody together in one place. It also depends on your budget as well. Currently, we have many more tools that we could do it with remote. Yeah. So we bring, like for example, this is an example from one of the resource and chemical company in Germany. We fly people here in Cologne. They're in Cologne in Germany. 150 people. This is where you can see IT and business are arguing to each other, but at the end having beer because they come up with the best result. Right? This is also where you can see a developer from India are challenging or raising the problem to the CEO from Switzerland. This is where every single person in the project meet together. We know that nowadays everybody work remotely, but at least you need to have face-to-face communication. You need to get to know one another. You say, oh, this is a guy I wrote email to for the past three months, and now he's here. This is not something you're gonna have it like very often, but the result is super powerful because everybody is aware of what they're going to deliver in the next 10 weeks or the next quarter. Every team has their scope visualized. And as you can see, there is a dependency board over there, very fuzzy. It's super important as an agile coach or a scrum master. Go there and see whether your team is very well prepared or their capacity is allocated nicely. Was a case also where there was a team putting 50% of the user story on a last iteration before they go into release. Is that a good thing? No, of course. What if you cannot deliver that and we release? No way.
Yeah.
Right?
And the most important thing here is as well, each team has one Scrum Master who's a full-time role. Otherwise, you can never make sure that in 2 days that you do planning and come to an outcome, right? And what we want to have here is solve the dependencies between the teams and outside the team of fully resolved. After these 2 days, we have a high confidence that we actually can deliver upon our commitments. Right? And there are mechanisms how to build in capacity margin and stuff like that. So this is extremely important, and it feels these events. So Lalita and I, we help organizations to facilitate and do these events. In the beginning, it will feel like chaos, right? You have 150 planning together, right? But it's a highly structured event which outcome. And last but not least, in this event, you work which would take you sitting in remote sessions couple of weeks otherwise. So there's also business benefit days on site. So from money perspective.
Next is system demo. Another question again. How do we break down or be able to demo a work package that take 3 months to build, say, 2 iterations? So we come up with a concept which we call minimum viable business process. Because in SAP, everything is all about business process, right? So we slice and dice a requirement which is based on business process to agile requirement. Why do we slice and dice all those requirements? It's because smaller batch size, the less variability we have, right? Transparency we have, fast feedback we get, easier for us to visualize. So all this stuff is the basic of everything we are building.
And we really demo then the system. And the system doesn't mean, for example, when you started with your implementation, it doesn't need to be live, but it needs to be on a staging environment so that you integrate your code, integrate whatever you have done. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have now live data from legacy systems you have then. You can also use, if you don't have any live data, other data, in order to show that the business process works to the extent you have done it. Because what we care about is the system sprinting, the teams. Very important. system needs to sprint. Of course, the people and the teams are doing that. But if one Scrum team has delivered all the user stories, the other one didn't, where are you? To look how far you are with the system, not with the team. So we always need to ensure that at the system demo, we can integrate something across the teams. And, like with the big SAP programs, you have 12 teams to ensure that they integrate something. This is how far your progress. Good stuff. And we spoke about metrics earlier also, and one of the success factors is inspect and adapt. And inspect and adapt you have at, of course, if you have a 2 weeks iteration, you have your retrospective there, extract the learning, and implement the learnings in the next iteration in it. But one of the things is we are building living systems. Living systems means we are not only building IT stuff. The people around is also part of this living system. And we have to inspect that as well. We have to build our organizational structure. So here are a couple of dimensions. This is based on the agility health rate. By the way, I get the question, can we do it in waterfall as well? Yes, of course. You can also apply that in a waterfall because you need most of the categories as well. But here, clarity, performance, foundation, leadership, and culture. This is something it's called a strategy. Every quarter with the team, and the team gets all the time. So when I govern and help the nations to set up, I want to see at this PI plan, I want to see they have growth items where they say, for example, well, with this other team, like collaboration or something like works it well, we need to have cross-team design workshops to know that they actually serve some. Not only we sit together, we think about great things which we can improve, stay and forget about it and have our so full of business-related features. Very important that we have this. Also show that are we good, or do we need to do something to help the team? Cool. Last but not least, we have got success factor, which is agile leadership. And here you can see from left side to the right side, deliver fast and respond. That is the first thing that you gotta ask questions, or like, is quality part of every team's? How well do you scale? Are teams able to make trade-off, and are we able to? Are we improve? How are we with automation? Other, like station where I helped, they had nothing. Out. So we had to build that. Of course, when you get started, you have all this great, can automate every test. It will not work. It's to developers different. Test out, choose you. Then you have to see great delivery pipeline. You have to see how does it work. That's really a skill which needs time actually. But I can tell you one, and we have our testing budget 12,000. So there's also benefit. There's a case. But there are also other things. So, and we drink our own champagne. So I'm not just are actually champagne. So how do we actually train own executive 1 year, 9 weeks? Our executives go through the SAP Agile Academy, and you start with 2 weeks camps. Camp 1, 2, 3, 4. You learn all of these things: PSM1, delivery agility fundamentals, management, Six Sigma. We have leading safe, and we learn about. Then our executives have to go out into a practice. They have to create a case study. They go to the clients and apply it. Then we come back in bootcamp. We have validated learning. So the same way how you would develop your code and your systems, develop our capability. So I've set that up in 2017. So we have, and the response there from, they say, change their life. Yeah.
And I would like to add that also not only to improve ourselves, company as well, but once we learn, we go back to the client, establish a trustful relationship with them. Here is what we're doing. This is what I've just learned. Let's do that. So that's why all the body of knowledge we are sharing with you today is not only coming from us, but together with our trustful relationship with the client. Here together with client in the conference, and also with this is really an agile way of working, way that of course we go there, help you with agile transformation. But actually the transformation itself is actually belong to you.
Right. And actually work as well ourselves. The way how we as can apply this. Every quarter we meet days. Hey, how do we do ourselves? Not just train our. Most important thing here starts with leadership, right? They have to understand how do decisions. If they haven't gone through such a training and they have a deep understanding of how they need to decide, then their decisions will. And one of the things here to myself, I have delivered water for March, a very painful. I wanted to create something which takes. This was one of the things that, like, if the way have to start with leadership first. And as Lalita mentioned, yeah, so we have now, I also want to share because great, sorry, don't buy it from me. So so this is like 20 out to me up.
Even though it's about SAP, but I'm sure that just like Agile mindset, Agile Manifesto and principles, it's apply everything, everywhere. Sometimes also apply to waterfall. So as long as you are in a complex environment, the same as SAP, I'm sure that that will also help you as well.
So last but not least, is this gentleman who's a football coach, so the one, know him. If continuous transformation craft not learned, nothing is. Thank you a lot.
Okay, thank you so much for this. So let me wrap up it a bit. So you have to stay on stage and help me. Okay, what I can capture from your session is, now the first one, we have to know that what type of our organization, right? It is amber or orange. And then how can we go to the teal organization, that is mean business agility, correct? Correct. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. And the key for the business agility is we should have good leadership, organization, adaptability, and learning organization, correct?
Yay!
Yes.
Woohoo!
One more. I have a lot of notes because they share about the SAP system, which is amazing for me because it is a big and complex system. How can we know that they can implement agility in the SAP system, right? And they share the 10 critical success factors that I can capture some of them, like people, mindset, inspect and adapt, something like this. If you want to see more information, please go to the board and take a picture. Okay, last but not least, I would like to say that Agile is the mindset. You have to think positively and think that you can do it. So on Monday, if you go back to work, just do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
also thank you for our guest speaker, both of them, Malte and Kun Lalita. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
questions.
The beautiful ladies there.
Working on the data analytics, and I'm kind of customer from SAP HANA.
Right.
I'm not so much feel the agilities of the development to for our productions with several reasons. For example, like the upgrade will lock down the system 2 weeks, HANA upgrade, and transport only around like once a week. All those my IT is running Scrum, so we have Splint and all. Just would like to know is that's only us? So I would like to hear like the success story, like from maybe other that your clients that implementing, like the HANA development, like how often they can deliver to productions, what is their success story that you can share?
Right. So, I mean, that's very important. One thing which you brought up is like, of course, there are systems like BW, there are ERP systems, and sometimes you have to push code as well to production, which belongs together. One of the key things, and this is one which I'm very dear to and which is explained very well here, is your testing automation infrastructure. So one of the first things you have to start doing is like unit test. And Solution Manager, for example, in an SAP environment has ABAP unit tests in there. It doesn't help you in a BW, but definitely within an ERP. So that is one of the things which brings you further. Then on end-to-end business process level, there are, for example, Worksoft Certify is one of the tools out there which does end-to-end business testing across system with your master data governance system, with your BW system, with your ERP system, not SAP systems. So you have to build up a test battery of end-to-end scenarios which you can run, for example, overnight. So I think we have more than 600 of the scenarios at Accenture themselves. So we can run that at night and see whether something has been broken or not. So you don't have this 2 weeks anymore where you have to wait for, do we do smoke tests or whatever tests are there. So this is really a critical component there. And the other, let's say, the other PI planning which you have seen, that was actually an HANA native. So there we are building a data warehouse, right? And one of the things we were doing, and the customer also said like, hey, it's impossible. How can we, like harmonize our dimensions, all of them, like in our reports, we have 170 fields, and you pick one. You harmonize that, you extract the data, harmonize that, and build a function for that. And then you build the report field by field. And this is one of the ways how we are doing that. I don't know whether that helped you a little bit. Otherwise, come here and...
Success story. I think we have one project, yeah. Not sure if it's the same with the HANA native, the one that you talk about in the conference. Maybe that one would help with such context. But I think maybe everything is based on different contexts, so maybe we can further talk about that and see if that fit.
Right, of course we have, but we cannot always talk about our clients, right? Because they want to be confidential. But Merck is one of the big ones in a pharmaceutical environment, and the one who have been in a regulated environment, you know how difficult that is. In a pharmaceutical environment, you have to double all your test cases in a validated system and a non-validated system. So that was the first ever S4 implementation we've done in 2016. I was part of the master data migration teams. So I was caring for them, so I was helping them how you can actually do agile data migration and stuff like that. So, and back then we had 3 weeks iterations. Nowadays you can also already go to 2 weeks if you have this test automation in place. But the most important things is, so you want to optimize your batch size. What does it mean? Batch size means we bundle our changes and push them into production, right? And usually we had quarterly or every 6 weeks releases. We want to get them to maybe every month or maybe whenever you need it, hotfix. So you have to decide for your organization what is the optimum size of changes you want to release. And this is different from every organization, because one organization, they need to have changes every 2 weeks. One organization, they are okay with every month, and one is okay with every 3 months. But you need to build up the capabilities so that you can even decide that. And this is, a trade-off function between holding and transaction cost. So you always have holding costs, but you want to bring the transaction cost down with automation. And by bringing the transaction cost down, you can actually lower your batch size. So this is kind of all these things you have to consider. And tooling is out there, so an automation. Here's a little bit of how we have done that explained. Sure thing.
Anyone have any questions? I think you have, right? I saw something. Any question, please?
I mean, we're here around until late evening, so reach out to us.
Because we have the feedback like, please give your contact point, give your phone number, give your email address, everything about this. Okay, sounds very interesting session, right? Thank you very much, our guest speaker.